Welcome to Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. These are the stories of those who have received, given, and who are waiting for the gift of life, organ transplantation. Now here's your host and heart and kidney recipient, BJ Odom.
Welcome to the Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast, a place where we journey through the incredible world of organ transplantation. I'm your host, BJ Odom. Each week we uncover inspiring stories and meet extraordinary individuals who are connected to the world of transplants. Remember to support us by leaving that 5-star review and subscribing on your preferred podcast platform. Don't forget to join us on Facebook, Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. In this episode 19, we meet Kelly Green, Executive Director of Help Hope Live, a beacon of hope for those facing medical crises. Discover how Help Hope Live is changing lives by providing critical support for fundraising, assisting with those expenses not covered by insurance, and guiding individuals through the challenging process. Let's get things started by getting to know Kelly Green just a little better.
I am the Executive Director of Help Hope Live. I have been here for about 8 years. However, I came to this charity about 18 years ago when my mother needed a kidney transplant, and we didn't have the money needed to meet all the expenses. And I was lucky enough to have a social worker who said to me, "Have you heard of this charity, Help Hope Live?" And I said no, and she introduced me, and next thing I know, I was able to raise funds necessary to get my mom her transplant, and it gave her 6 more years of life. So I am forever grateful. She has been gone now for 12 years.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, it's okay. She had 6 amazing additional years, and I had an incredible life with her. She was an amazing mom. I was very lucky.
Now, is that what so that's what really brought you to the organization then, is they helped you and then you kind of got involved and you said, "Hey, I'd like to work for you folks." Is that how that all worked out?
In essence, yes. So I had been running my own business. I was doing really well. I wasn't really looking for a job. And next thing I know, across my desk or email came a job posting for Help Hope Live. And I thought, well, that's interesting. Why am I even seeing this? And I read through it and they were looking for an executive director. And I thought, that sounds like something I'd like to do with my life. So I applied. And next thing you know, I get lucky enough to be picked in the national search, and they hired me. And it was interesting. I actually heard about this job the day about it was my mother's birthday. So I thought that was some kind of interesting sign. And the day they hired me was the anniversary of her passing. I feel like this is exactly where I'm supposed to be.
Sometimes things like that all just kind of, the pieces fall in place. And you're, like you said, you're where you need to be. Help Hope Live, is that a national organization, a regional organization, or how far do you reach out?
Yeah, so we're a national organization. We have families who use our services all across the country and in Puerto Rico. We have been serving families since 1983. So we have had a lot of experience. We were started by a heart transplant surgeon who realized that at that time, heart transplants were experimental and not covered by insurance. But in his work, he realized that there were 3 patients that absolutely needed to have a heart transplant. And he had this amazing foresight with his wife, who was a nurse, to start a charity to raise funds for people to get these 3 patients to get a heart transplant. And you think about this, this is 41 years ago, and people weren't really talking about crowdfunding. So you have to imagine what amazing foresight this man had. And he brought together communities of support. People were able to make donations, and he was able to help these families get a heart transplant. How incredible.
That is awesome.
And since then, we have helped over 22,000 families. And we expanded not only just to heart transplant, but all organ and cell transplant. And about 24 years ago, we opened the door further and started helping people who have spinal cord injuries and catastrophic illnesses. And we continue to open the door wider and wider.
Now, I know Melissa Tuff, who, actually worked with your organization once to raise some funds. And she told me that, like, if you use like some of these funding operations, you pay taxes and everything else, but yours is like or I'll let you explain it.
So we're the nation's only charitable platform for medical fundraising for all people with catastrophic conditions. And so what that means is we are a charity that helps people to fundraise so that all of these out-of-pocket medical expenses can be covered. And what we do is we protect individuals and we protect donors. So yes, when we started, it was kind of a bizarre notion that people could crowdfund and help with medical expenses. Now it's become kind of a regular thing, right? Everybody talks about places like GoFundMe and other crowdfunding mechanisms, but they're not charitable. And so what happens is when you use something like GoFundMe, the funds are donated. And let me just say this. What an incredible tool to bring together communities of support to help each other, right? That's what we're about, right? That's what America's supposed to be about. We're supposed to help each other when we need it the most. And that is a tool that does exactly that. But for people that we serve that are facing catastrophic conditions and oftentimes are relying on some level of government assistance when facing these catastrophic conditions and these life-changing, life-altering medical needs, when you use a GoFundMe, those funds drop into a bank account. And when they drop into a bank account, it then is reportable and taxable income. And although there are circumstances where perhaps you can make it tax-free, it is still reportable income. So it is asset-based fundraising. With us, we gather people that have medical conditions and people who want to help with other people with other medical conditions, and we allow them to fundraise using our charitable platform. And what that means is every donation that comes in is restricted just for medical and medical-related expenses. And so the donor themselves not only gets a tax deduction for making that donation, but also can rest assured knowing that we are trustworthy and that those funds will only be used for medical-related purposes. We are literally a fraud-free mechanism to help people who have a medical crisis. And so it's kind of the only means out there to do that. And so what we do is we allow people to start a fundraising campaign, and we help people to pay their out-of-pocket expenses. What happens is they start a fundraising campaign, they raise funds for that medical condition in that particular region. And what we do is once they submit a bill, we just pay the bills. So we pay direct to vendor. Sometimes we do reimburse for expenses, but those expenses have to be proven. They have to show receipts for those expenses, and they have to be medical or medical related. So we protect everyone.
Good deals. Now, what is the criteria? Like, let's say someone needs a transplant right now. And I know, a lot of times when you go to the hospital and you don't have insurance, that seems to be one of the big ones I bet you find, or is it other needs too?
It's interesting. You can have some of the best insurance possible and still have really detrimental out-of-pocket expenses. And so, for instance, my mom was a Philadelphia school teacher. She had what we called the Cadillac of insurance. And yet still, when we went to get her on the list for a transplant, we were told that unless she had $15,000 readily available to her, they were not going to be able to list her. And as shocking as that is, and as difficult as that was to hear, it made sense once it was explained, which is we had to move closer to the hospital and stay there for 3 months. And that was at minimum. So what that meant was we had to rent a furnished apartment or an Airbnb or a hotel and stay in that place for 3 months. That means food, lodging, taxis to and from the hospital, or medication copays and deductibles. All of these things add up. And those are the things that are not covered by insurance. And when they add up, they couldn't give her the organ unless she could afford to keep it. And that's reality. It is expensive from having a transplant to pay for a lifetime supply of medication. And especially during that first year where you're constantly facing changes in your medication, then you have to go get a different medication or go get more of that medication. And it is copays and deductibles add up. Your copays could be $20, they could be $50. And once you're taking, and I don't know about you, but my mom was taking about 20 different medications a day. Those copays add up really fast.
Oh, yes, they do.
Right. And it's forever. And so what do we do to help families who need to make those expenses? Like I said, they add up fast. You know this. I know this. And it is hard to imagine that we live in a country that just has so much, but doesn't provide quality health care as a simply basic human right. And
I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just going to say, because I remember, in my instance, my wife, my caregiver, she had to take off work for a couple months. And like I said, you go to the city where the hospital is. And if you don't live there, let's say you live 5, 6, 10 hours away, you have to go to that city and you have to be ready to live there for a month or two. And, like you said, my wife wasn't working. We had to put food on the table. We had medicine. And, we unfortunately, I didn't use you at the time. That was back in 2003. And, I know our expenses were just by hotel rooms, was off the map. So this is just an amazing thing you do. That's for sure. Now, what's the criteria? If someone wants to reach out to you, obviously, I want to know how they can do that. But do they need to qualify or what is the steps?
So there are a few steps involved. One is really simple. Just have people go to our website, which is www.helphopelive.org. And you can go into a Get Started and fill out a form, and somebody from my team will call and contact you or email, whatever your personal preference is. And you will have a one-on-one conversation. But the criteria is simple. You need to be facing an organ or cell transplant or have had an organ and cell transplant. You have to have a catastrophic medical condition, and that could be from a spinal cord injury or a traumatic brain injury to a catastrophic illness like cancer or ALS or muscular dystrophy, or there's a variety of conditions, even rare conditions, even undiagnosed conditions that we cover. During COVID, we opened the door to COVID survivors, and we continue to open the door wider and wider. And so you have to meet that criteria. And the second part is that we have to have a medical professional validate that you have that. So everyone in our entire system, anyone we accept into the program, we have proof that they have that medical condition. And then you have to have out-of-pocket medical expenses. And so you have to explain to us what those out-of-pocket medical expenses are anticipated to be, and that you have to have them. And then there's an income threshold. That income threshold is very high. So far in my 8 years, I have had only 2 people come to me that we have had to ask for an appeal. So if you exceed the income threshold, and depends on your condition, and it depends on where you fall within that federal poverty income guideline, then you can appeal, explaining to us what your out-of-pocket expenses are. Like your caregiver, your wife, thank goodness she was in your life or is in your life, she had to stop working. And we have that all the time, right? Every day somebody's contacting us and saying my husband or my wife needs to stop working, or my child is taking care of me, they need to stop working. And so there's an income shift. And even if it's temporary, that's an appeal that we can entertain if you do meet the income threshold or don't meet the income threshold.
Now, do you also help in the fundraising, or do you give them ideas, or how does that actually work?
Yeah, great question. Thank you for asking. We do. Every single person that's accepted in the program has a client services coordinator that's identified to work one-on-one with every individual. And so that person, will get to know them, we'll help them to tell their story, we'll help them to write their story, and we'll get to know them of what kind of fundraisers could work for them. And, you or I would look at our community and say, okay, well, I have my friends, I have my family, maybe I went to college, maybe, my high school friends, I have my church or my synagogue. So we know and we can identify these things, but our staff is really the expert in medical fundraising. We know how to identify past what we typically see as our communities of support. And we also have some outside resources that are available that we can assist with each family. And once we identify all of those things and we help people to tell their story and we can connect it to their social media, we can also do public relations for them. So we will send out stories to the local media or to the national media, and we will hope that some of these stories take hold. And we do this every day, all day. So when you have a medical condition, you contact a medical professional. Unfortunately, the reality is, we're also when you're facing a medical crisis, you're facing a financial crisis, which lends itself to needing to fundraise. And when you need to fundraise, we don't anticipate everyone here knowing how to be an expert fundraiser. That's who we are. So you call us. We're the medical fundraising experts. We know how to help you create the ask. And it's difficult, right? None of us want to ask for help. We know this. It's the last thing we want to do. I remember facing that and hearing that my mom needed $15,000 and we didn't have it. But the last thing we all wanted to do was ask for help. But when I called and I had somebody on the other line and somebody from Help Hope Live said to me, I'm going to help you along this journey. We're going to help you to understand that people just want to help you. So asking for help is hard. People want to respond. That's who we are in this world. We want to help each other. And so they helped me along and we raised the funds necessary. That's who we are. That's what we do every day.
Awesome work. Awesome work. Now, how many people would you say is on your team? You've got to have, you've got to have a team.
We have an amazing team. We're small but mighty. We really are. We have only 26. However, we do have ambassadors across the country that have used our services that also go out, that are boots on the ground, that help people. They work with individuals. They help families. They help caregivers. It's a really scary process and journey when you're facing a catastrophic condition. It's unknown. It's isolating. It's lonely. And it's expensive. And so what we do is we make sure that we have people that can assist with that process for everybody.
Now, let's say there is someone that goes, wow, this is a great cause, but I just don't have the funds to, hand out right now. Is there other ways that they can help the organization?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Spread the word. Right? We don't spend a lot on advertising, which is how we keep our overhead so low and how we make sure that we are cost-free to everybody who we accept into the program. There is no fee to use our services. So what we ask people to do is just tell people we're here and let people know that we're out here to help. Help out with somebody's fundraiser just by spreading the word. There's something everybody can do to help.
Well, one thing that was, in my instance anyway, that helped a lot, I was in radio, so I had, that giant platform behind me. And then, of course, when the transplant came and, we were in Tampa and everything else, it's a whole big story. But I was on a morning show that kind of got let go because of my heart transplant. And what was amazing, the station across town, the competitors jumped on that. And they were the ones that were the gold medal winners as far as helping me out with some major expenses. And so I know that, whenever you can get media behind you, that is a big boost. And you have those contacts, which is awesome.
Yeah, we do. I can give you an example. We had this one family who came to us. He really just didn't have a community of support. And he had just had a kidney transplant and his wife was diagnosed with ALS. And they came to us and they had 4 kids and not a lot of support. They had a very, very small community of support. We accepted them into the program, and they really needed to fundraise for a wheelchair adaptive vehicle, which is, they run anywhere from $50,000 to $80,000. And we were able to get a campaign going for them, get to the local media, who then did a wonderful story on them. And within 24 hours, we raised over $50,000.
Awesome.
The media is huge.
And that's the magic of people for sure. So
it sure is.
And so that's helphopelive.org, you said?
Correct. Yes. helphopelive.org.
And then they can get all the information, rather they're interested. Because, people that might be listening to this today and say, wow, I need to give somebody some money. Now, let's say somebody from Ohio calls. Do you have a person maybe you could put them in contact with? Or would you just say, hey, we can take that money and we can distribute it through our people and really, make it count?
They should just call the office and we can assist. You can make a donation, and then all the donations go to help continue the operation or goes directly to medical needs. So there's restricted donations and unrestricted donations. But once they give to a particular campaign, that'll go right to helping that particular campaign get their medical needs met. And if they just give on the donate here, it will help families meet their out-of-pocket expenses, and it will also help our staff work one-to-one with each person.
Well, today we're talking with Kelly Green, Executive Director, Help, Hope, Live. And you guys are helping people raise money that have major medical expenses, and it is just so much needed and so much appreciated. And I want to thank you for your time. Now, before we let you go, because I know when I do these interviews, there's always something we'll say after the interview, oh, you missed this, or you should have talked about that. What would you like to let the people know before we let you go today?
Help, Hope, Live is not just medical fundraising. We are really a holistic approach to helping families. We not only have one-to-one assistance for each person, but we provide adaptive fitness classes that are free online. We also have Hope Talks, which have a panel of experts that help people and guide people through various different situations of their medical conditions. And we also have hope, right? One of the things that we want to bring together is bring hope back to families who feel all hope is lost. And we do that with just connecting with them and connecting them to other resources and also connecting them to each other. So I welcome anybody to give us a call. If you're feeling hopeless and you're facing a medical crisis, just call us. We're here. We're able to help. This is what we do. This is our expertise.
And
we're here to help.
And obviously they can get that number at helphopelive.org. But what is that number?
It's 1-800-642-8399.
Give it again. Let's just really push that number.
Absolutely. 1-800-642-8399.
Kelly, thank you so much for spending time with us today. I wish you and your organization nothing but the best of luck. Again, that's helphopelive.org. They are there for you. Make sure you go to the website, give them a call. And again, thank you for your time today, Kelly Green.
If I could just get one more thing in there.
No problem.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. So you asked if people could get involved in some way. Well, we do have an annual fundraiser. It's called Live It Up. And we will be hosting this fundraiser on October 24th. People are welcome to come or just welcome to give. And we highlight really exceptional people and sometimes some local clients that we have helped along the way or have helped us along this journey. And we would love to invite anybody who wants to participate to come along. It's already live. It's on our website and you can find it. It's called Live It Up and it's October 24th.
Special thanks to Kelly Green, Executive Director of Help, Hope, Live, a nonprofit helping raising funds for those life-saving transplants. Join us again next week for another touching episode, Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. If you have a transplant story, we would love to have you share it right here on Gift of Life. just send us an email, giftoflifepodcast@gmail.com. Follow us on Facebook, Gift of Life, the Organ Transplant Podcast. Until next time, I'm BJ Odom. Thank you so much for being a part of our journey and reminding us all to appreciate each day and to cherish the extraordinary gift of life.